Welcome to Body Talks Mind Lessons with Indu. Are you ready to hear real life stories from around the world how Body Talk system has helped heal trauma and brought vitality back to life? If yes, stay tuned and find out if this is what you have been waiting for. Dear listeners, welcome to another episode of Body Talks Mind Lessons. And today I welcome Cravens, who is going to explain to us how she has brilliantly combined her body talk training towards intuitive web designing, especially to guide us in our business to bring out our passion and purpose. I am really looking forward to it. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So let's start with how did your life journey start? Were you always thinking about being in Body Talk, or, how they say, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Right. Well, I was one of those kids that didn't really know a whole lot about what I was going to do, though I was very creative, hence now being in the web design part of it. But a lot of it was my mother had poor health when I was growing up, and she ended up dying when I was 28
Oh, sad.
with a lot of chronic health conditions. And then she had gone the Western medical route, which was just really a lot of drugs and surgeries and things like that, which some of it was necessary. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
she ended up accidentally overdosing on her medications, which was the final straw that actually ended her life. And of course, I was 28 at the time. And I was just really determined from that point on to find something, a natural mode of healing. I just knew that there was something other than those outside resources that we had been grasping at so desperately to save her life in so many ways. So that's kind of what spurred it off.
So yeah, sometimes there's a life event, and sometimes Body Talk just shows up. So that's why I've been finding that it's very interesting to know how does Body Talk show up in somebody's life.
Right. And another layer of that was I realized that the underlying cause of a lot of her sickness was her emotional imbalance. She was very emotional, had, from a lot of things from her upbringing and whatnot, the common stories people have, they're things that they bring with them. And it really took a toll on her body to the point where, we lost her. And I started realizing that I was really emotional and I was doing,
Mm.
and I was holding a lot of the same type of internal frustrations or anger or the things we do as humans. And that really made me want to shift how I was behaving in life, just how I was showing up in life and how I was processing emotions. But it felt so impossible. I was just so wrapped up in my emotions. They were, that whole feeling of the emotions controlling you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We all think that we can overcome our emotions, but just like you said, it's so human, even though
Yes,
we know it.
right.
But it's very hard to get out of that loop.
Yes, they just keep coming back around. And so Body Talk came into my life at a point where I was studying all kinds of holistic health modalities. I had become a massage therapist. I was teaching yoga. I had been doing some dance. So a lot of movement arts, moving energy, but I didn't really know too much about the energy world yet. I had done some Reiki and I was fascinated. And then I was doing a trade with a yoga teacher of mine for a massage and for Body Talk. She was offering me a Body Talk and trade. And I had no idea what it was. Other than a friend of mine had mentioned, oh, I went to see this lady. You should go try it out. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And long story short, I ended up on her table on the anniversary of my mother's death. And
Mm.
the session was all about the grief I was holding for my mother, the grief she had passed to me from her upbringing and whatnot. And it was that was the moment where I like to say everything kind of got diffused for me. I got centered, I got more clear. And I won't say I was totally in control of my emotions or I hadn't shifted that at that point, but the door opened. And from that moment on, things became so much easier for me, so much more clear, to not get caught up in the emotions. I could witness things more. And then from that platform, I was able to just keep making bigger and bigger leaps and bounds, to be more confident, more clear, and to where now I can help other people, that are kind of wading through that muddiness, that comes
Mm.
with the emotions.
Very true, Chris, especially grief. I've seen that most of us hide the grief, or it just sits in that corner because we don't know how to bring it forth. We don't even know that we're holding it. So I'm glad that you came across somebody who brought awareness that you were holding the grief and was able to diffuse it for you. Um, but still feeling that all that sadness you had around your mother's death. But then
Yeah,
again, one door closes and another one opens, right? So
exactly. And I think I'm very, I have the similar story to a lot of body talkers in that we have a life-changing experience and all of a sudden, oh, wow, this is what I want to do. And so it really reshaped my direction with all the modalities I've been studying. Those just felt right in line with all the body talk. And I think it was around probably 2009 or so is when I actually became a practitioner. But yeah, that was that session that really just was like, wow, this is life changing. I have to know more about this. And gosh, I have so many other little stories, but really amazing stuff.
so right after that one session, you were taking more sessions, or you decided this is what you were going to practice?
We continued our trade, my friend and I. And I did some more body talk sessions, and then I started taking courses and things like that, and it just kept growing. I was just Everything made so much sense, and the science was amazing, the anatomy, the energetics, where it aligns with the physical aspects of our being, just bridged everything for me. And yeah, I just couldn't get. I still can't get enough.
That's it.
Right?
Just like I heard somebody says that they should say body talk is addictive.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. It's a good addiction, actually, is what I was
Uh,
gonna say.
yeah, very true. Some people, just get the first session and they say, "Oh, this is what I'm practicing," and kind of something similar happened to me. Somebody explained it to me,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Okay, I have to try the session." And right after the session, I said, this is what I've been waiting for."
Yep, it was just so amazing. Sounds like you had a very similar experience, and it's kind of one of those things, like, once you know, how do you unlearn that? How do you unknow the possibility of that?
Yes,
And when you
exactly.
know it's there, it's just like, for me, it's just like this hunger for it. I just want to know more and more and more and more. And it's where that science meets spirit part that is really intriguing to me.
That's true. That's true. And the funny thing is, you don't even need to have a science background because some people have asked me, "Oh, I don't have any healthcare or science background. Would I still be able to practice body talk?" And I'm going, "You don't need to know anything about science. It's just gonna come.
It's
You know,
designed it's designed exactly for that. It's a beautiful system.
right?"
I missed that last part. You cut out a bit. What was your last statement?
Yeah. What I was gonna say is sometimes too much science can be distracting.
Yes, yes, agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, so 2009. So, just like you said, that there are so many modalities you were practicing before. So, how do you combine all those modalities in your session, or how does it all play together? Even though they say body talk is complementary, you can combine everything. But I just want to know what has been your experience.
Right. Yeah. So kind of where I have morphed into with it now these days. Again, with the web design, I'm helping women business owners, small business owners or solopreneurs. And I'm helping them to get their businesses online, and or maybe tweak how their business is showing up online and get centered with it, because as a small business owner or solopreneur, you are your business. So if you're having issues within you, emotional, physical, everything in between, then it's going to affect your business. So they two really go hand in hand. And I can really use a lot of the intuition that Body Talk has taught me along the way to connect in with my clients and kind of um, help them discover where they're heading, help them see for themselves what they're uncovering.
Hmm.
Because sometimes it can be cloudy for people when they're trying to figure out how they're marketing their business, or how to design their website, or what their logo should look like. How can I bring myself through in that? So I can really connect in with people and feel what they're about, and get a good grasp on that, so it's reflected in the final product for their business. And when we're working together, if they're hitting blocks, a lot of times there's things that are going on in their lives too. So we can do a little body talk work. Sometimes we can do a session on the side to strictly for them. Sometimes we can do a body talk that's angled for their business, as if their business were a person. So there's a lot of different ways that we can approach it.
Wow, that is amazing. It looks like that's, even though I have been getting sessions and I have a business of my own, but really brilliant that how you were combining these two things. So you are doing it in parallel, and in some cases you are integrating it, right?
No, it kind of sort of started happening by accident, because I've always really, like I say, I did graphic design a long time ago. And then over the years in holistic wellness, I ran my own business. I built my own websites on a lot of the DIY platforms. So I've just had this creative side to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of started doing that in addition to the body talks, to balance out my week. I do a little body talk and a little creative work here. And then when I was working with people, I started really noticing how much the intuition was coming into play. I would type up some sample stuff on their homepage for them to look at, just off the top of my head, and they would come back to me like, I was going to tell you to say exactly those words. I was going to tell you to use the word bliss, blah, 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 or whatever it was, their little tagline or whatever. And I was already picking up on it. And I was starting to chuckle to myself how much I was already like kind of connected with them in their process and in their passion for their business. I could see it, I could feel it. And it just started showing up as we would start having our phone calls and start going back and forth with designs. It's just really started becoming apparent that the two were overlapping. It was becoming a really intuitive process for me.
Hmm, very interesting. Is there any specific example that comes to mind with a certain web designing that you did?
I was working actually with a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
the one that I was actually just alluding to there a moment ago, who has a massage business in San Diego. And he he was going back and forth with the name of the business. He had an older name that he was tossing around a little bit, but he was like, I don't know, and what should we do for this tagline? And we went back and forth a little bit, and then I just, like I say, I did a little mock up and sent it over. And I think the tagline read something like "Heighten your bliss." And
Mm-hmm.
he literally had just typed that out that morning when he read that. He's like, I
Uh,
was going to tell you to write the exact same thing, but you already wrote it. You were so in sync with what we're doing. It was pretty amazing. It's just that's the little nuances like that. Somebody might not consider that, oh yeah, whatever, that was a coincidence. That's not a miracle. But to me, all those little things show you that you're on the right track to that miracle. You're
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
walking in the magic. You're playing in the magic, and that's the fun part to me.
Unless you're designing your own website, but the thing is, even then, you are questioning your own intuition. So I'm
Right,
so
right.
I'm so glad that you are able to tap into much better than somebody can tap into their own intuition, right?
Yeah, and so I get body talk sessions too to help out. 'Cause that's
That's
just it.
right.
You gotta kinda step away and distance yourself a little bit, and then, I have to take breaks and come back, but recenter myself as well so that I can stay in that flow.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So, you started in 2009. So, um, after that, you never looked back and everything flowed smoothly for you, or were there bumps along the road?
Oh, I'd say there were quite a few bumps. I think part of the growth process that happens with body talk, is going through those hurdles of life. I ended up, gosh, I guess it was, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years later from there. My husband at the time ended up with cancer, and I lost him 5 years ago. So that was a whole process, which really was a pull on my studies. It pulled me away from my body talk studies a lot, because of course I was dealing with life. And and that really helped me through that as well. Again, you mentioned grieving earlier, so this was another another
Mm,
opportunity to visit grief. And have it visit me, however you want to look at it. So I've had some opportunities to really work through the grief, facing it head on, and I can't say enough how much body talk has helped me. In addition to the physical things, getting up and moving, having a yoga practice, even going on walks with my dog, bike rides, just moving the physical body helps to move the emotion. So it's not stuck, right?
yeah, very well said. But emotions actually show up in the body, and once we start paying attention, we can feel what is the sensation it is creating, and then you can channel it through the body by, just like you said, by movement, and also get to know yourself more.
Right.
How do you manifest an emotion, whether that is grief or is disappointment. If we don't watch that, that's what disease comes in, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I love that word. I love hyphenating the word disease. Dis
Yes.
Right? It's dis-ease in the body, and that's it. So we have to create ease on so many levels, right? Which is again the beauty of body talk.
Very true. Because I also teach emotional intelligence as part of my mindfulness practice, and that's exactly how it is. Become at ease with your emotions first. See where you are storing them, where you are hiding them. And then you have to become vulnerable and bring them to the surface
Yes.
to be processed, right?
Mhm.
There is nothing called controlling. You just have to direct them, you just have to face them.
Right, and that's the scary part, right? That's that defining line right there. If people can face that, the grief and the levels of emotion that come with grief. We talk about grief as is it's one like feeling, but there's all these different things that are packaged with that, right? All these different, it's like a roller coaster, and sometimes think all different emotions all at once too. So um, yeah, being
Yeah,
able to face those and examine it. What is it? What is this feeling that I'm feeling? It feels horrible, but what is it? Right?
very true. uh, so still going back and asking you a basic question, even though it is sometimes hard to say. How do you explain body talk to other people? When you and I saw it, we know we have come home and we found it and we practice it and we love it. But when you're meeting a stranger and they say, huh, that's a strange word, body talk. What is this? How do you define it? Have you come up with some definition of your own?
Well, I think my definition varies every time I open my mouth. But but with what you're talking here with the body talk, mind listens, that kind of idea. It's a chance for us to listen to what the body is saying, and it's a language. So we're taught as practitioners how to interface and kind of and plug in with our clients and help translate those messages that the body's trying to say. And we have a specific protocol that we follow using yes and no muscle testing that guides us and keeps us on track so we're not floating off into la la land, is what I call it. And very grounded and on course so that we can, like I say, have that space to listen to what the body's trying to say, because the body can heal itself. And when we can remove the distortions in communication within the body so that things can start communicating, organs can start communicating, and muscles and the brain can start talking. I like to say with your big toe, all these different parts. And once things start talking, it's like, oh, this is what's going on. It's just like if you don't talk to somebody in your family or in your community, if everybody shuts their door and nobody talks, nobody knows what's going on. Everyone's doing their own thing. But once we get everybody talking, and working together and harmonizing and communicating, then we can get somewhere. And so the body's a lot the same way. I like to make jokes when I talk with people and kind of talk like the organs and body parts are little cartoon characters. And it just brings a little lightheartedness into it. It's like, okay, your spleen's saying this and it's upset with the liver and the liver doesn't know why. And right. And so it kind of brings a fun element to the sessions, and we can laugh and people are usually like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Right. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I love the way you are describing it and the lighthearted part of it. And also, the fun part is when other people become conscious of what their body is saying to them, right? I mean, the
Mhm.
language was always there, but
Mhm.
once you bring awareness, that's where consciousness healing starts, right?
Yes.
So they are part of the solution,
Mhm.
even though the other modalities, they talk about all these things, but they are, doing it like you are not part of it, and they are doing the work. And here,
Right.
you are part of the work because
Exactly.
you are becoming more familiar with your own body and what it has been missing in terms of balance and communication. So, very well said.
I love it. I love it.
uh, any other aha moments that you had along the way with yourself? Yes, you uh, did say that all these, you know, things that happened and how Body Talk helped you. How about with clients? Did you want to share anything, something in particular?
You know, I wouldn't say a particular instance jumps out with any certain client, though an overall theme that I think people that I attracted into my practice was a lot of people that, grieving, stress relief,
Mm.
um, those types of things people seem to gravitate to me, probably because I've started out as a yoga teacher and a massage therapist, right? And helping people
Mm-hmm.
relax
Yes.
and get centered there. So I had a lot of those types of people in my surrounding. So with that said, each person having their own unique background and circumstance coming forth, I think the common thing that most people would say they would get from sessions with me is that finding clarity in their life and a sense of peace. So kind of that clearing the chaos so,
Okay.
so that you can function more in the present and with more clarity, less fog, kind of clearing the brain fog. And with that quality of life that comes with that. So it can help various situations in life, just with that aspect right there. I would say though, I had a particular experience with myself with the body talk system, and it was after I'd first taken fundamentals And I was kind of overwhelmed, actually. It was so,
That makes two of us at least.
I was like, oh my gosh, who am I to do this? Like, wow, this is so amazing. And I was like, okay, I'll just do it for myself. And I kind of shied away a little bit. And then one day I was driving on a way to teach a meditation at a corporate gig I had. And I was stopped at a traffic light. Window was down. I was in Southern California. And a car pulled up and stopped next to me. And what seemed to be some, we'll call it some people whose energy was probably not up to good, we'll call it. They started heckling me. They were throwing change at my car, and I was in that fight or flight mode. I was triggered. I was scared. I was shaking. I was sweating. I needed to get out of there, but I was stuck at this red light in traffic. And as soon as the light turned green, I took off and I pulled into a parking lot to where I could get to safety. And I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, I have to go teach a meditation. I have to be there in 10 minutes. I'm a mess. I'm sweating. I'm shaking. What am I going to do? And right then I thought, oh, wait a minute. I know something. Oh yeah, there's this body talk thing. And I did a little tapping sequence that I had learned. And before I even was done with the tapping sequence, which only took maybe 20 seconds, my temperature dropped down. I came down to normal. I was not shaking anymore. I mean, everything just like returned to normal. And I was focused and I was like, wait a minute, this is so crazy. I've never been able to do this before. And at that moment, I realized I had an email sitting in my inbox that the founder of the system was going to be lecturing in town that weekend. So yeah, of course I went and got my fire renewed, and yeah, didn't turn back from then on. Retook fundamentals again, and just yeah, it reignited my passion for it because I saw how powerful it was in that moment. I would call that kind of a fast aid type situation.
Oh, okay. So you were giving yourself fast aid at that time.
I'll just say I didn't even get to do the whole thing. I just did a portion of the technique that I could even remember. I didn't even
Yeah.
do the whole thing. Now as a practitioner, I know I hardly did anything, but it worked. It really worked. And for me, that was just priceless to be able to get out of that mode because that was a common mode for me. So to find some techniques that were really valuable, that really actually did the trick, it was life changing for me.
Yeah, I think that is one of the tools that I love. That in our 1 day access class, we learn 5 techniques for, just self help and also for family. But the best one is fast aid. You know how somebody tells you that they are going through something and you are listening to them, but you feel helpless. You say, okay, I'm listening, but what do I do? Right.
Mhm.
And that's when fast aid comes to me. And I say, okay, I'm sending you fast aid. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that whole intention of helping somebody energetically, makes you feel like you have done your part. And people have come back and told me, yes, I received it. I feel better. It takes only 20 seconds, just like you said, but it's such a brilliant tool that you can use anywhere for anybody, anyone who needs help.
Yeah,
So,
I use it a lot. Before this, I bumped my elbow on a shelf a while ago, and I stopped really quick and I did a little fast aid on it, and my elbow doesn't hurt anymore. I do it if I burn myself, little cuts, running into furniture, something like that. And the thing where I know it works is like all of a sudden I forget about it, and the next day I'm like, where's the bruise? What or there's no scar from that burn. I swear I burnt myself pretty good. And it just kind of goes away. So
magic happens.
yeah, of course I'm talking about some minor things. I'm not talking about life-threatening stuff, which of course I would want medical attention for. But for these little bumps and bruises of life, it's come in very handy for me. And I actually, in the early days, I used it as a testing ground because I was a skeptic.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, I just burnt myself. Let's see if this really works. As I my finger in my mouth, as I'm tapping out my cortices and doing this thing, you know. And it would take the edge off the burn, like I say, and pretty soon I'd be going back to my cooking and forgetting that I had burnt myself. So it made me a believer.
Uh,
Yes, you know.
so now, since you do this intuitive web design, is there some guidance you want to give to our listeners who may be starting a business or who have a business? How should they go about it? How should they tap into their own intuition and their life purpose, as you call it?
Right. I think really getting clear with the heart center is really key. Being able to run everything through that heart filter, which can sometimes be confusing for people. So being able to sit in a quiet space, clear, this is where meditation and things come in, but to be clear with your message and be clear what you're wanting to put out to the world in a way that it can be heard. Because sometimes we want to say, oh, I just love everybody and I want to heal everybody and help everyone and blah, blah, blah. And the world just kind of brushes us off. But if we actually are able to put a statement out, I don't know, for example, like right now I'm helping women with getting their web design businesses seen by the world, getting their platforms online. So if you can find a way that resonates with your audience from your heart, that's where that magic happens. You really start drawing them in from that heart beacon rather than having to chase it all down. So it kind of being the magnet rather than having to chase after things as aggressively, which I'm gonna add a little side note on that. That doesn't mean you can just sit around and meditate and everything's gonna come to you. There's actually things with effort, and I like to think there's, in my head, I kind of see it almost as a 50%, 50-50 balance. It's like you do this meditating, praying, however people want to have that in their life. And then the other part is taking action, movement, effort, and taking steps towards that to help make it happen. And I think that's where a lot of the spiritual world kind of gets a lot of flack for not being grounded enough in like reality is what some people will say. And I think it's that imbalance with not, once people start acknowledging the spiritual, it's like, oh, that's really cool, but you can't forget about the physical. So connecting in with the heart, to really tap into that spiritual message, but remembering the steps, the physical steps that you're going to need to outline to get from A to Z to make it all happen.
Yeah, I like that. The starting point is hard, right?
Right?
And
Oh,
a lot of times, since we are so much surrounded by this whole social media thing, which is in a lot of ways still coming from the left brain, right?
yes.
That I need to connect, I need to do this. But actually, it is just like you said, how do you become a magnet and sit there? And the world comes to you because you have opened your heart up to them.
Right. There's a lot to be said for that level.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's a lot of frustration that comes with social media. I love it. It connects you with so many people, but to have that heartfelt connection is not easy to understand.
Yeah, right. To be able to run everything through the heart filter before we respond, before we reply, before we put anything out. And it's hard to remember sometimes because again, the emotions come in and boom, take us where they do. So it's a
Yeah,
delicate balance.
yeah. It's a delicate balance. Well said. All right, we all need to those who own the business, or even if it's your job, it's a lot of times it's your heart that has to come out and tell you, guide yourself that way, and of course, then to take the action. Don't be just feeling it and not doing anything,
Okay,
right?
go hand in hand.
Exactly. So, what is your big message to the world? Which you kind of said, but is there something in particular that you want to put out?
Hmm. Again, as you mentioned, I did kind of say with the heart base. I mean, everything for me revolves around the heart. So Um, I think being able to use that as a guiding tool, the heart brain, get it involved, that's number one. Let it guide you.
Okay. All right. And I'm sure heart-based meditations are a good way to start there to expand your heart energy
Right. And as
and combine with the body talk,
right,
right?
I was just going to say, as we both know, Body Talk is very heart centered. We involve the heart with every single session. And yeah, it's again why I like to refer to it as heart center or heart quarters.
Yeah, and our tapping is head, heart, and gut, right? So
Yeah,
you
wait.
bring all three brains together, and that is the best way, you know.
Yes, indeed.
All right. I know you are in New Mexico. So have you always lived there, or have
I've been
you?
for about 4 years now. And
Okay.
I'm central New Mexico, about a half hour outside of Albuquerque in the Southern Rockies. So we have some mountain weather here.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there. I used to go there for work, so.
Oh, nice.
And you want to share your contact information or
Yes, yes. If your listeners would like to go to myantidote.life, again, it's myantidote.life. I have a free book download, my book, Anxiety Antidote, Your Guide for Life's Challenges. So that would be my gift to anyone listening. Feel free to go there and download that book and pick up some tips. There's a little bit about body talk in there as well.
oh wow, nice. I will definitely do that. And also, Chris, I'm gonna find you and see what you say about my business, right?
Yes, indeed. We'll get together and have another chat.
Yes, yes, we will definitely have that. So it has been great talking to you, and you know, I'm really happy that we were able to connect and share your life experiences, which is very, very relevant in today's world. Is there anything else that you want to share before we close this talk?
Just a big thank you for inviting me today. It's been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and enjoy seeing you again soon.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you, listeners. We'll be back soon. Enjoy creating your business and make sure you expand your heart before you start there or call Chris. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.